Good evening and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. A bit of an impromptu video this one, but you got myself, Matthew Hill, and Adam Smith, and we're here to talk about the World Grand Prix, which starts on Sunday. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Smido, who's going to kind of tee us up, and we're going to work through the format and work through the tournament. So Adam, take it away.
Well, first things first, Pieman, I've got him back. He is back from the brink. He's gone and joined a darts league on a Thursday. I mean, who would have thought it? A member of a darts podcast joins a darts league. He's missing all the racing content. It's a good job me and SD are holding the fort there. But the darting action really does ramp up from now on, with numerous major TV tournaments leading into the World Championships in December. So, next up is the World Grand Prix. Double in, double out format, the only double in, double out format on the tour major, and the only major other than the Worlds that is in set format as well. So it all gets underway Saturday. Its usual home of Dublin, the City West Hotel in Dublin, is not the case this year due to you know what. So we've got 32 players in Leicester, the top 16 on the PDC Order of Merit, and then the top 16 on the PDC Pro Tour. So there is some quite highly ranked players that have not made it into this tournament, but we might touch on that later. The draw has been made, the odds are out, and the most interesting thing for me, Pieman, is that the top 8 are seeded, not the top 16. So given it's the top 8 and the top 8 only that are seeded, it has thrown up some quite interesting early round draws. The first round is best of 3 sets. Pieman, before we go into the quarter by quarter, which we're going to do, just tee us up a bit on the World Grand Prix as a whole.
Yeah, well, nicely summarised, to be fair. Double in, double out. It's the only kind of major, what we would call a major tournament, to use that format, and it's quite a nice one for us amateurs who are used to playing maybe a bit of double in, double out in the pubs. It's an interesting, unique format. The set is another string to its bow. Sets over legs. I'm a lover of set play myself, so I really enjoy this tournament. I think it gives players a chance who wouldn't perhaps have the same chance in a long running legs match against these big boys, because you do have a short format at the start. You can win a set without being the best player if you time your doubles at the right time. Getting off quickly is absolutely pivotal in the early rounds. If you're taking 2 or 3 darts to get off and your opponent's taking 1, you're already 60 to 80 points behind. So it's a really interesting format. It has thrown up some surprise winners over the years. I mean, even since 2015, I look at it. We had Robert Thornton winning. We had Daryl Gurney winning this. The likes of Dave Chisnell, Simon Whitlock been in the final. Dirk van Dijvenbode had a breakthrough tournament last year to be the runner-up to last year's winner, Gerwyn Price. So we do see some unusual names here, which, as regular viewers will know, is my kind of party when we have some of the more bigger price players getting a fair run for their money.
Just say it, get it out of the way early doors, Pieman, and just say that you're going to back Gabe Clements.
I'm not. I'll give you that, but you've got to stay tuned to see who I'm putting up. But look, don't get me wrong. I'll make my case at the top of the market, because I think there is a pretty clear case if you are that way inclined. But no, there's certainly some value to be had there, and I love this tournament. So let's get stuck into it.
Yes, so just on the betting, there's something very key to point out here, and it's not with all suppliers, but there is one supplier in particular that has Michael van Gerwen as the third favourite to win this tournament. Not the favourite, not the second favourite, is the third favourite with Bet365, who have got Gerwyn Price, obviously, at 7-2 favourite, and then they've got Peter Wright at 5-1, and they've got Michael van Gerwen at 11-2. You have got to go back 7 or 8 years to find a time when Michael van Gerwen was not first or second favourite for any major darting tournament. It's a sign of the times. We've been saying it for some time on this channel that we think it's the right thing that Gerwyn Price is favourite for these tournaments over Michael van Gerwen, and so it is proving. Van Gerwen has taken a tournament, if you like, the Nordic Masters, which was a few weeks ago, invitational type tournament. But then they played another invitational type tournament, the Gibraltar Open or something, whatever it was called, over the weekend. Gerwyn Price beat Michael van Gerwen on his way to the final, where he beat Mensur Suljovic 8-0 in the final. So first things first, the world champ, the reigning champ of this tournament, the world number 1, is in cracking form, Pieman.
It certainly is, and that leads us nicely into quarter 1, where we find Gerwyn Price. I think if you do want to dive in with the quarters, because look, what you said about the draw is a very interesting point that I wanted to just touch on myself, actually. Normally, in these kind of formats with 32 players, you would see the top 16, as you say, divided up into their own sections so that if you're in that top 16, you theoretically have a more favourable tie. Not the case with this. There's 8 ranked, there's 24 unranked, and those 24 can literally be scattered pretty much anywhere in the draw. And what that has actually happened there has hurt Gerwyn Price a little bit because he's ended up being drawn against the number 9 seed, Michael Smith, in the first round. Now, in most tournaments, him and Michael Smith would have been kept apart, whereas he's actually going to have to take on Michael Smith in the first round. And we do see a few instances of this in this first round where a seeded player has ended up getting probably a tougher draw than they would in most tournaments for an opener. However, I do think he's had favourable, draws in other respects. He's managed to avoid some key players, and I think he's got a winnable tie. Let's just start with quarter one. Gerwyn Price versus Michael Smith. These two did meet quite recently in a European Tour final. Michael Smith certainly finding a bit of form, but Gerwyn Price fairly walloped him in the final. I think it was 8-2 over a ton average, very convincing, and you would have to think that he's going to do similar again. I'm not sure this format really suits Michael Smith. When his doubles go, they really go. And I could see, even if he does play well against Price, and he's capable of beating Price, we all know that, even if he does play well, you've got to feel at some point he'll have one of those blips where the doubles go and he won't be able to get off in legs. He'll be struggling. And yeah, I'm just not sure this is his best format, to be honest, even when he is playing well. Conversely, Price. I mean, if you were ever going to put your money on someone to hit tops for you, it'd be Gerwyn Price, wouldn't it? So you'd think he'll absolutely thrive on this. Winner of it last year, he'll be looking forward to defending his title. Not the kind of guy who likes giving up things easily. And as I will touch on at the end, he would be my pick of the three at the front of the market, and I think he's quite an obvious pick on recent form. Looking at the rest of this quarter, if Gerwyn Price does win, he'll play the winner of Martin Claymaker and Mervyn King, two of my favourites. As you know, I like Martin Claymaker. He's had some really good results on the tour this year that probably haven't converted into finishes. He did have one run to the semi-finals of a Players' Championship where he was unlucky not to make the final. So a very capable player. Those exploits on the Pro Tour get him here. I'm not sure if he'll quite have enough to beat Merv King. I think Merv will probably do a job on Martin in the first round. Gerwyn Price and Merv King always makes for good viewing, so I'll be looking forward to that one in the second round, if that is the case. But yeah, you would think that Gerwyn Price has got a fairly straightforward route through to the quarterfinals. The others in this section, Dave Chisnell and Mensur Suljovic. This would be my best pick of the match betting in this quarter. I would definitely fancy Mensur to beat Chizzy at odds against 11-10. Mensur, we didn't see him for a long time, as you sort of slightly touched on. He's had health problems and problems away from the hockey. Extended break from darts. Came back for the World Cup of Darts and was outstanding enside Robbie John Rodriguez, got Austria to the final. They probably feel that they should have won it. They were in a very good position and couldn't quite get over the line there. But Mensur said how pleased he was just to be back playing and enjoying his darts. Averaged over a ton on a couple of occasions in the World Cup. Has since followed it up with a European Tour final. Yes, he got tonked off Gerwyn Price, but that can happen to anyone, and I think Price averaged 108. So no shame in that for Mensur, really. My general observations of him in the last month or so is he looks back, and he looks back near his best. Let's not forget this is a TV winner we're talking about, a serial top 10 player before his issues, and not an enjoyable player to face. He'll play Dave Chisnell, a player who desperately likes having a rhythm, likes to throw quickly. I could see this being scrappy, messy, not a very good watch, but I think Mensur might get a job done, and I was a bit surprised to see him odds against 11-10 there.
He's mustard on that 14s, isn't he?
Oh, brilliant, yeah, and you can guarantee he'll be going off on the 14s every leg, and he'll be hitting it first dart or second dart, no messing around. Chizzy, conversely, a little bit like Michael Smith, if he's not in his rhythm, the doubles can go awry. And I think 11-10 about Mensur is very attractive, to be honest, just for all the aspects that I mentioned. The final game in this quarter will be Joe Cullen and Ross Smith. Joe Cullen, someone I'm a big fan of. I think he'll refine some of the form that we saw early in the year as this big TV tournament section of the calendar approaches. I think these players who've been around the block for a few years know that this is the time where things really start to heat up. Expect to see some of these fellas in and around the top 10, top 20 suddenly rediscover some form. I think Cullen will do damage in a TV tournament before the year is out. I'm not sure it's this one, but winnable game against Ross Smith, a player who's improved a lot this year and has had some very respectable results. But I would expect Cullen to edge it. But just before I pass over to you for some thoughts on Gerwyn Price, perhaps, I would just say that I did have a little look at the quarter betting. You may have already sensed this, but I think Mensah could be a little bit of value here. I look a little bit further ahead. I'm not necessarily keen to take on Gerwyn Price. I do think he's the most likely winner of the tournament. However, Mensah Suljovic 9-1 to win this quarter. Gerwyn Price will not enjoy playing Mensah Suljovic. He's had struggles against him before with the pace and with just the way the games go. I think he's a more mature player now. I expect him to be able to deal with it. He's obviously tonked him very recently. However, there is a chance it could get into a scrap. There is a chance that Mensah could really frustrate his opponent if he's playing well. And when someone's averaging over a ton quite regularly on their most recent form book, I think 9-1 to win the quarter is of interest. Small play.
Yeah, fair points made. But, you do have to look. Most recently, he's tonked him at 8-0. But it's like you say, the double in format really does throw, it creates some wild betting anomalies, if you like, because, people can just get in that little rut. And you just need someone that's. I think Joe Cullen's one of them people. I'm sorry, I just do. Chisnell, I've seen him do it as well. Michael Smith, you've already mentioned. So I think, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. But of the three at the top of the market, I know it's obvious, and I know you've already mentioned it. But I think I'd rather be with Gerwyn Price over the other ones. But on to the second quarter. The top seed in here is James Wade, the fourth seed, swiftly followed by the fifth seed, Dimitri Van den Berg. Wade takes on our friend Damon Heta in the first round, Pieman, and Heta's been in some decent form recently, has he not?
Yeah, he definitely has. Yeah, I think Heta and Wade could be one of the games of the round. Maybe not one for the people looking for flash high scoring 180 action, but I definitely think two methodical players, two very good doublers, both inside the top 20 for doubles hit this year. It could be a nip and tuck, and they both like a battle as well. And I think Wade will rightly come in and fancy it, but I've got a feeling Damo might turn him over here. He's been knocking at the door for a big TV performance, and I think this could be where we get to see it. Both players will be very aware as well that they've got a fairly favourable round two draw. Two unranked players in Stephen Bunting and Daryl Gurney meeting in the other game there. Neither of these two in particularly great form. Bunting obviously had a great world champs. He's had a little bit of a disappointingly quiet year so far, although you could say that for a lot of players. It's been a bit of a funny schedule. And Gurney, I know we saw him at the World Cup. He's threatened to show some form, but he's very, very opposable. I wouldn't really have a strong opinion either way in the Bunting-Gurney game, but I would have quite a strong opinion that I think, whoever wins out of Wade and Heta can expect to be making the last eight, I think. There'd be a strong favourite in that match, quite rightly for me. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is Damo that can make it into that quarterfinal. And that would be a big moment for him in his career, I think, to reach a major quarterfinal. And I think he's very capable. Good luck to Damo if you are watching. In the bottom half of the quarter, Dimitri Van den Berg, the other seed. And I think he's very opposable. At Ryan Searle at a big price here. I know we're both fans of Ryan Searle, yourself, Adam, and I've been really impressed with the way he's handled himself in the last 12 months. Just goes about his business. He's won a floor title, obviously, and been to finals as well, mixing it with Gerwyn Price, mixing it with Peter Wright, Jose de Souza, throwing ton-plus averages for fun. And Dimitri, I don't like to read too much into these exhibition events, but I think it's fair to say he's had a little bit of a stop-start year on the TV events. Sometimes flashes of his brilliance, other times abysmal, and chucking in really ranked performances. And to be, I know it's only the Nordic Masters, but to be so far ahead against Fallon Sherrock and to miss 8 or 9 match darts and go on to lose that game, it's got to be a confidence denter. And I think he would love a game where he could just ease himself into this tournament and kind of put that to bed. Unfortunately, what he's got a really tough game against Ryan Searle here. And I think you can get a really big price on Ryan Searle. I'm just trying to find it.
9-4. 9-4. He's 9-4 to win the match, Ryan Searle, and he's 80-1 best price to win the tournament. And unfortunately, Prime Man, you've taken my thunder a little bit there because I really like Ryan Searle here. He is mustard on that 16s. If he gets it. It doesn't take much for him to get a rhythm on the double 16s. He'll be using that to start off legs, and he'll be trying to use it to finish off legs as well. I think he could be a decent bet. So given that if he gets through that, he faces Dirk van Dijvenbode, who did make the final here last year in this tournament, but has done naffle this calendar year. He's not done a lot. And Luke Humphries as well, who can be a bit in and out, particularly I fear for Luke Humphries on this double-in format, because he is a player, one of the younger players that does seem to lose his focus sometimes when it isn't going his way. So
yes.
Big if, well, slightly big if, but if Ryan Searle can get past Dimitri, it opens right up for him, and I will be backing Ryan Searle.
Well, I'm going to have to, unfortunately, you have kind of rained on my parade a little bit because I'm quite keen on Luke Humphries. But I totally take where you're coming from with the, slight lack of consistency and unreliability, and he very much can lose his head. But I do think with Luke Humphries, this has been a real breakthrough year. He's had that UK Open final, lost to James Wade, but he obviously brilliant against Michael van Gerwen in the semi-final. He's really competitive on the floor again. He's been making finals. He's been very unlucky in those finals. I think he's lost 4 or 5 of them, and he's basically been losing to the top 3 or 4, including Jose, who's been dominant on them floor events. So he's mixing it with the best of them, and I do think that he's kind of due a TV run again. I feel like he keeps knocking on that door, doing the right things. He does take a little bit of a leap of faith, Luke Humphries, I admit, but I think he's got quite a good draw in Dirk van Dijvenbode, as someone who I'm a fan of, but he's been a bit off the boil the last couple of months. He wasn't quite at it in the World Cup with MVG. I thought potentially that was going to be a great pairing, and while they probably should have got to at least the semis or the final, I didn't think he was quite at it, Dirk. He said in his interview afterwards that he's just struggled for confidence a little bit in recent months, and he's not quite feeling where he was probably this time last year. So, yeah, I think Humphries can win that. And put it this way, if it's Humphries versus Searle, the two outsiders, I will not be in one bit surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, could well happen. We've just got Brendan Smith, big darts fan, in the chat there. Pieman, he's saying hello. Glad that the Pieman's back. Yeah. So moving on to the bottom half of the draw, Pieman. Peter Wright is the second seed, and he takes on Rob Cross first time up. And the other seed in this section is Jose de Souza. So yeah, pretty competitive little section. And what were your thoughts on quarter 3?
This is the section of death for me. If you talk about group of death in the World Cup, this is just horrendous. Just to run through the players here, I mean, Peter Wright, outstanding, arguably player of the year so far, for his, some of the performances he's produced on the floor. Rob Cross, a player quietly on the rise again, I feel, if not quite up at that level again, but definitely going in the right direction. Nathan Aspinall, very dangerous player, was very impressive in the Premier League in spells. Krzysztof Ratajski showing his best form ever on the TV in recent months. Very, very dangerous. Jose is Jose. Don't need to say any more on him. Glenn Durrant, fair enough. We could pretty much, unfortunately, discount Glenn unless he has a real return to form. But, a Premier League champion is the person I'm discounting there. Callan Ridds, rapidly rising, some really, really good performances in recent weeks. Outstanding performance on the European Tour recently, where he averaged close to 110 and was 100% on his doubles. It was just ridiculous. And then Johnny Clayton, the Premier League champion. What do you want about this quarter? I mean, I would not be surprised if the winner comes from this quarter, but I think trying to predict who's going to come out of it is a very, very tough ask. I don't know how you feel about this one.
Well, just particularly on Jose, he'll have only played in this tournament once, and I've just got it up here. Last year, he played Devon Peterson first round. He averaged 93 in comparison to Peterson's 87 and lost 2-0 in sets. And that's, that just shows what can happen on the double in, double out. I mean, yeah, we often talk about Jose's miscounting, but you can't miscount when it's a double in, so he can pick whichever double he got down well.
I was going to say, what double do we think he's going to be going off with? Probably double 3 or something ridiculous.
Oh, it'll be all over the place. If Jose, has an empty visit at tops, he'll no problem move to 18, 16s, whatever. He'll move it around, no problem at all. No problem. I can see that, but I do agree with you. Yeah, other than Glenn in this section, you could make a case for a lot of them, to be honest. And Peter Wright's been doing what he's been doing this season, and for good reason. That's why he's second favourite above Michael van Gerwen. I would quite struggle to pick one from this section, to be honest, Pieman.
Go on, I'll give you one. I'll give you one that I thought was value, and obviously anyone here is a leap of faith, and they're going to have to beat 3 good players to do it. But I thought Krzysztof Ratajski 9-1 to win the quarter was too big, to be honest. I think his game with Nathan Aspinall is a coin flip, and I'm a bit surprised to see him at odds against there. I would say I'd probably have him slightly odds on in that game. Let's just remember with Ratajski, this is a player who's an absolute monster on the floor. and has been for some time, but he's finally starting to convert it into TV performances. He was very good at the Worlds. He's been very good the last couple of times we've seen him. I think his confidence is growing. It's a matter of time before he reaches a TV final and wins one of these events, in my opinion. And you can say that for a lot of them. But a 9-1, I think he'll have his admirers, and I'd be one of them, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pushing my luck to be having a bet in that section. But Pieman likes Krzysztof Ratajski in section number 3, quarter number 3. So moving on to the final quarter where Michael van Gerwen is the seed sitting alongside Gary Anderson. Now, Van Gerwen, won that. What was it? The Nordic Masters Pieman with Fallon Sherrock was in the final, and that's a whole different story there. But
I mean, we had tears after that final.
There was a lot of emotion from Van Gerwen there, and yeah, I think he's got a really good draw here, Pieman. I really do.
He's got a fantastic draw.
He could hardly have voted for anything better, to be honest. Danny Noppert, then second round either Vincent or Clemens. He's definitely got the beating of Vincent any day of the week, and Clemens most days of the week. And then Gary Anderson only turns up for what tournaments he fancies nowadays. Ian White, doesn't really go on to the latter stages of TV tournaments.
Right, let me stop you there, because there's one of these two guys at the bottom who I'm going to give a very, very good word for.
Oh, go on then.
And it's not Brendan Dolan.
Oh, I thought it would be because
I know. I thought
Brendan.
Look,
I like time of it on the tour this year. He's had a good time of it on the tour. So you're on Darius.
I like Darius Labanowskis, and I'm going to make a case for it. But I'm just going to touch on what you've just said there about MVG. Big question marks over him. Yes, he beat Fallon Sherrock in the final. Crying. It's obvious to me. There's stuff going on away from darts for MVG. He's obviously got a lot going on, and the stress and strain of the loss of form. I think there's more to the picture than we can see. I wish him the very best, because he's great for darts when he's fully firing, and I'm sure he'll recapture that form at some stage. And we see it in flashes. I wouldn't be surprised if he won this tournament. But as you say, out to third favourite in once a player, and I think it's probably about right, to be honest. Probably about right. He's far from reliable at the moment. He's got the talent, but he's not consistent enough at the moment. So there we are. He couldn't have asked for a better draw, as you suggest. Danny Noppert, his countryman, who never seems to get the better of MVG. Maybe a little bit of in awe of him as a fellow. He's played with him in the World Cup team, of course. Probably looks up to him, So not to write Noppert off, but it's probably if he could have picked one of the 32 to play in round one, he may well have picked Danny Noppert. And then, as you say, Vincent van der Voort and Gabe Clemens. I'm a massive Gabe Clemens fan, but he's not in any kind of form at the moment. Struggled at the World Cup alongside. I think he probably felt the weight of that, to be honest, playing in front of a home crowd. He had Max Hopp, who's having a tough time as his partner. Probably felt weight on his shoulders there. They didn't do too badly, Germany, but, didn't pull up any trees either. Could easily get against both of those. So I think we could pretty much give MVG a bye to the quarterfinal, barring something going exceptionally wrong. Now, in this bottom section is really where I have had a good look, because I think Gary Anderson, I would not be surprised if he faces MVG in the quarterfinal. I will also not be surprised if he turns in a stinking performance, because that is where Gary Anderson's at in his career now. He's very hard to trust. He got to the World Championship final almost by accident. We were there scratching our heads saying, how's he done this? He can do it, but you can't get enthused about him, can you really? And I mean, yes, he might have a bee in his bonnet because he opted not to play in the World Cup with Scotland, and John Henderson duly took his place and won the trophy. So I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to get back on the board. And obviously he hasn't had to travel into mainland Europe, so he'll be delighted with that, you would think. But I just think he's opposable. I expect him to beat Ian White, mainly because I can't get with Ian White on TV. Unfortunately, it's a shame because this format's kind of tailor-made for the floor version of Ian White. Very reliable on his doubles and stuff. And then I come to this bottom game, and I'm thinking one of these guys has got a real crack at the quarterfinal. My first inkling was Brendan Dolan, because obviously you know what Brendan's done on the tour. His Dublin's been sensational and stuff. However, I've got a real soft spot for Darius Labanowskis. I'm delighted he's managed to nab the last spot of this event, because I think he's a criminally underrated player who deserves to be in this kind of company. Every time we see him on the TV, he's exceptional. I'll take you back to the 2020 World Championship. He got to the quarterfinals and only lost to Michael van Gerwen in the quarterfinals of the World Championship. Fast forward a year on to the last World Championships, He lost to Simon Whitlock in a game where, he averaged over a ton in his first round match against a Chinese qualifier, didn't miss a thing. He then played Simon Whitlock, averaging the mid-90s, and he lost, I think he maybe missed the match start. That was a really close match. He then, the next time we really saw him was the UK Open. He got to the 5th round, drew Whitlock again, lost 10-9, missed the match start again. So, he's these are fine margins between, and we're not talking about run-of-the-mill tournaments here. We're talking about major tournaments. So I think he deserves to be in this kind of company. Brendan Dolan's just dipped off a little bit recently. Wasn't great with Gurney for Northern Ireland, but then again, they never really are, that pairing. He's mustered on the floor. He's been mustered on the floor all year, but a couple of times now I've put him up for a potential dark horse in a TV tournament and he hasn't fired. So I think Darius has got a chance of turning him over at quite a big price. I think he's about 13-8 to win that match. I would then fancy him to beat Gary Anderson or Ian White. And he is the 18-1 outsider of the field for this quarter. Now, would you be that surprised if Michael van Gerwen lost the quarterfinal to Darius Labanauskas the way this season's gone? I wouldn't personally. It seems like the kind of game that MVG could slip up in. I expect Darius to hit his doubles. He's very, very reliable on his chosen doubles. And I think he's in the top 10 in the last 12 months for one-dart checkouts. So this should suit. And I think 18-1 outside for the quarter is worth a look.
Well, you're making a very strong case there.
Normally when I do
outsider.
this, it goes terribly wrong. But, I fancy it. So why not?
So he's 18-1 to win the quarter and 200-1 to win the tournament as a whole, Darius.
That might be taking a leap, but hey, why not? You don't need much of that price, do you?
That brings us to our wrapping up, really, Pieman. We've gone through most of the draw there. Look, we ain't going to get any awards for originality, but I do think Gerwyn Price at 4-1, I think he probably should be shorter than that. He's certainly got an easier run than Peter Wright, and he's certainly more reliable than Michael van Gerwen. I do think that 4-1 is pretty attractive, given that even if he gets to something like the semi-final, he's going to be taking on the likes of a Wade, Heta, Dimitri, Searle. I know I've made a good argument for, but yeah, I think Price is solid at the top of the market. I really do. But I also think Ryan Searle as well. He's available at 80-1. I think he can get past. I think he can, and if he does get past Dimitri, that really, really does open it up for you. And next thing you know, he may well be knocking on the door for a semi-final appearance. So my money will definitely be on Ryan Searle. And where's your money going, Pieman?
Well, I totally agree with you at the top of the market. You're spot on in what you say. Peter Wright, I'm not necessarily against him. He's just in a really, really tough part of the draw compared to Price and MVG, so I can scratch him off my list at the price. MVG, I can't trust him at the moment, hence the case for Labanauskas at a big price in that quarter. So Price has got to be good value. But the form, he's won his 2 European Tour finals with 100-plus averages, so he's in fantastic nick. Loves defending titles and stuff like that. So yeah, no brainer at 4-1 as the main selection. And I think we could put that up as a confident selection for the channel. It does feel like a tournament where there might be some each way value. Just to sort of summarise why I think that is the case. I've said that Peter Wright has a draw from hell and stuff like that, but if we go a little bit further down the market, Jose is in questionable form. Johnny Clayton has a particularly tough route. He's in that section with Peter Wright. Dimitri, I've said, is shaky. Gary Anderson, not really keen on. So that brings me down into this 40s, 50s region. I'll pick 2 for you. I'll give you Krzysztof Ratajski at 40-1, just because of how well he's playing. And I do think he will have a breakthrough at some stage. And Luke Humphries, as I kind of alluded to, same logic you've used with Ryan Searle. I think that part of the draw could open up for one of them. I did consider Searle myself, but I've just edged with Humphries at 50s. But I'm glad you put Searle up because I think he deserves a mention as well. So Ratajski and Humphries, the selections, and we're both very confident on Gerwyn Price being the value at the top.
Yeah, so we'll have all them bets in the description as always, and they'll be going on the Doubles and Trebles profit and loss spreadsheet. I've
got some match picks for round 1 if you want me to
go on then, Pieman. Yeah, go on then. Yeah, get them in as well. We'll get them in the description.
Just to finish, so if you are looking for a round 1 ACCA or some interest, these are the ones that stood out to me. Luke Humphries 10-11 against Dirk, Mensur 13-10 against Chizzy, Heta 11-8 against Wade, Searle 9-4 against Dimitri. Darius Labanauskas 13-8 against Brendan Dolan, and Ratajski odds against 11-10 against Aspinall. We'll pop all them in the description as well.
Excellent. Right. Well, thanks for the hundreds of people that have tuned in live on this Wednesday night. And just to say, we have got 2 racing videos tomorrow. So Thursday night is the usual night for the racing content on doubles and trebles. At 8:30, we'll have the normal with myself and SD for all of Saturday's racing action. There's a Group 1 from Newmarket. And then at 9:15 on Thursday night, there'll be myself and special guest Andrew Humphrey going through all of the action from Paris on Sunday, which includes the Arc, plus a load of other Group 1s. So make sure you tune in. I can see Wayne Harrison's in the chat. He'll definitely be tuning in, as will Brendan Smith, and hopefully many others. So see you tomorrow night.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in if you have tuned in. And yeah, definitely give you a big thumbs up to the racing. Adam and SD do some fantastic stuff. And I hope to be able to still dive in every now and then. But my budding darts career is distracting me at the moment. It's not gone well. 2 weeks, 2 losses. Did miss match darts last week. So we're getting there. It's a steady progress, I think. And yeah, anyway, we'll be back again very soon. Good luck with your picks. Keep an eye on the Twitter. We'll have some in-tournament selections for you. And see you again very soon.
Cheers.